Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Ambar, actually, and I'm here with my co-host Steven.
Yay, I'm back. I'm back. I was gonna try to say how many weeks running we have this streak going on, but I have no idea at this point.
Well, I think it's like three, if I'm not mistaken. But
I think it's more than 3.
that I introduced you, or
No,
is that what we're talking
that we've
about?
been no, that since we've been recording. I feel like it's been definitely way
Oh,
more than 3. Yeah,
oh
yeah.
yeah, no, definitely for sure. Today's topic is about attachment styles, why we love the way we do, or not in a romantic only stance, but like in a platonic stance too.
Hmm.
Um, Most people don't have dating problems, they have attachment wounds. How do you feel about that?
I don't know if I agree. I do not know if I agree about that one. I think it might be a
No, you don't
blend,
agree?
but I don't know. I don't know. Dating wounds versus attachment styles. It might be one and the same, I think.
Mm.
Because I think it could be one and the same depending on the circumstance or situation. You could have a previous experience that can cause you to have a certain attachment style. So that could be the dating wound that you don't necessarily heal properly from, and then that alters how you connect with people. And so, you know, it is what it is, I guess. I just have
Well, let's
very
break down.
yes. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry. Let's break down what the attachments are, right? So there's secure attachment, which
Hmm.
is you're comfortable with closeness and independence, communicate clearly, doesn't play games usually when you're secure.
That sounds so familiar. I don't know. I feel like you're describing me in the moment, but by all means.
Key behaviors, consistent communication, comfortable with boundaries, can tolerate conflict without shutting down or panicking. Would you agree?
I, I'm sorry I check all the boxes, I hate to break it to y'all. And I don't think you need to check all the boxes for you to qualify. I think if you lean more so one way with a lot of those, I guess, traits, then you would kind of fall under that category. But yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
So then the next attachment would be anxious, craves
Mm.
closeness, but fears abandonment,
Whew.
needs reassurance to feel safe. Some key
I
behaviors.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Some it's okay. Some key behaviors are overthinking text and tone,
Hmm.
seeking constant reassurance, and difficulty sitting in uncertainty. I feel like we should
Mm.
dive into this one a little because you had a lot of.
No, it's just when I knew we were gonna talk about this, I was like,
Mhm.
ah, because I would say, and I don't know if I want to share this story at this point, but I would say for a large portion of my adult life, like we don't really have a conversation about attachment styles. Like you kind of operate and navigate your dating life or how you just deal with people in general. Um, just based off of your own personal experiences or childhood or whatever the case may be. But I then had an experience with someone 2 years ago, and I eventually had to end things because they were just personality traits that I knew I wasn't necessarily a fan of. And so after coming out of that situation, I kind of started to do some research of like, okay, why am I so bothered by this person, you know, being like a brat or doing certain things? And it was like, oh, this person may have like anxious attachment style, and so like they're nagging you because they need to feel that level of closeness, and it's like I don't operate like that. So that's why I was kind of like couldn't even let you finish because I was getting the flashbacks of like this individual, and it was like, that's when I learned. That's when I learned.
Yeah. And then there is avoidant attachment, values independence over intimacy, pulls away when things get emotionally close, Some key behaviors are emotional distancing, discomfort with vulnerability, and minimalizing needs. Like, I'm good, I don't need much.
Mm. I think I would say in the last, let's say, 4 years, I think I've run into a lot of women who probably have avoidant attachment style. And so when they see that things may be serious or that, there's a level of me being self-aware and comfortability in who I am, that's where like the self-sabotage starts to come in. And I think that comes from previous experiences, that comes from all the stuff that we see on social media, just even possibly even like just a pandemic and people being more of a recluse. So it's like you get so comfortable being with yourself and navigating the world on your own when it comes to like now having to deal with somebody else. It's like, I really don't want to be vulnerable. I don't want to participate. So um, yeah, it's a lot of that going around too.
And then there's also another one. This is the last one. Fearful avoidance wants to connect, but fears it at the same time. Push and pull dynamic, hot and cold behavior, intense chemistry followed with withdrawal, difficulty trusting others and self.
Mm. Thankfully, I
I
haven't
feel like
experienced that.
I feel like that's one that I've experienced in my dating experience. And I don't know
Hmm.
where that stems from, but I feel like you said, like when and it goes hand in hand with avoidant attachment, obviously, because once things do feel serious, right? Or things get a little, intense, it's normal and I think human for people to kind of have those doubts of like, I don't know how to react to this. This is obviously like probably their first time or like it's a familiar kind of sensation. And they just, sabotage for the most part.
You hate to see it. You hate to see it. People be depriving themselves of happiness. Damn
Yes.
shame.
Some of the talking points I want to discuss today are why chemistry often equals nervous system familiarity, the chaos of dating apps amplifying anxious and avoidant attachment dynamics, how people confuse intensity with compatibility, and share from your perspective often how men often avoid emotional labeling but still live inside of attachment patterns. Do you think that's a thing?
Men avoiding emotional
Emotional
labor,
labeling.
but then still have attachment style patterns. I mean, yeah, because young boys are essentially taught to not have emotions. I don't know if we discussed this on this show before, but like the idea of, a little boy falls on the ground. If he starts crying, it's like, oh no, you can't cry. Like you're a boy, you're not supposed to cry. And like we see that as something so small, but then that then grows as adults of like you're not allowed the space to express your emotions. And then in turn, we see how men can then um, not know how to exhibit their emotions in a proper way. And so oftentimes that leads to violence, which is very unfortunate, or just wilding out and doing crazy things because they don't know how to assess their own feelings. But with that, they do still have their attachment styles and those can then be issues. I'm assuming more on like the fear avoidant sort of style of like, oh yeah, like I'm not like, I like her, but if I like her, then some shit's gonna happen. Or if you are dealing with someone who has a large social media following, it's the she constantly has dudes in her DMs and all these other stupid little things of like, yeah, I like you, but like I don't know if I could trust you, or I don't know if I could do this, and I don't know if I could do that, and it's kind of like you need to heal from all of that because you're doing mental gymnastics for things that's not even necessarily there. And it's like again, you're depriving yourself of potential happiness because you're creating these scenarios off of ideologies they may not even be real. Um, so yeah, I think men definitely fall under that category. So that's why when like people would say like, "Oh, men aren't emotional," it's like, eh, they are. They just don't exhibit it in the same ways that women may exhibit it, or their emotions are as misguided or just displayed in a different way in comparison to women.
Yeah. I feel like if I had to label my attachment style, I want to say like I'm in the mix of secure, but then I feel like I can portray a little bit of avoidant as well, especially because I am a mom. Like I feel like because I have a lot of priorities and, things that I put in front of, having a romantic life. Sometimes it's easier for me to be like, oh, well, you know what? It is what it is. I'm not really going to be too pressed about the situation and just kind of move on, or like take whatever, like vibe I'm getting and like, not dive into it completely and just kinda, like, let the other person lead. Because ideally, I want the other person to lead anyway, right? They're the man, in my case.
Mhm.
So, yeah, like, that's what I if I would label
I
myself.
don't know. I don't know if that would fall under avoidant. I feel like for the people that's avoidant, it's because of their own self doubt or
Mm,
their insecurities or previous trauma. And so they're avoidant because they're trying to avoid being redundant, but they're trying to avoid a possible negative experience, even though nothing has transpired for them to have that sort of negative experience.
mm,
So I think that would be, I don't think you would kind of fall under that category. I think the avoidant
okay.
type is like, oh yeah, I really like this person, but it's like, I don't want to do too much too soon because what if they're more concerned about the what ifs. And so their behaviors will exhibit that of like, um, you know, uh yeah, he says he want to do X, Y, and Z, but I don't know yet because it's too soon, or I don't want to do
Mm.
this, or I don't want to do that. Like they're literally avoiding this person or avoiding expressing how they feel because they're worried about the what ifs of it all, even though this other person hasn't necessarily done anything for them to kind of feel like you should stand off on. I think in your case, without, spilling any of your business. Like I think, well, no, I'm not even gonna through. Well, I mean, you're part of this group, but I think for women at large, if you have certain negative experiences, it causes you to then want to like, okay, I'm gonna take things really slow and see where they go with it because
Mm,
we've seen or they've had all these experiences with men who like go hard or show that they're really interested and then
mhm.
fall out of the sky or just fall off the face of the earth out the blue. And so I think that's where like the level of like, let me be hesitant and let me not put all of my eggs in one basket as of yet. So I wouldn't necessarily consider that avoidant there. I think it's kind of just being smart and like, you know,
Yeah,
operating accordingly.
that's true. And we've already discussed in previous episodes that you would label yourself as a secure attachment
Oh yeah, yeah,
personnel.
yeah. Listen, we secure on this side. Like, I'm not the reassuring type. I don't need reassurance. I don't. I'm not the type of person like, oh, I hit this person up. I haven't heard from them. Like, what's going on? Like, it will cross my mind, but I won't necessarily let it be
Have a negative
known.
thought
Oh,
process about it.
yeah, like, it's like, okay, maybe this person's busy or, they
Mhm,
got caught up, and at the end of the day, like, I'm a big believer in duality, and also I kinda live in the gray area, so it's like, this person doesn't owe me anything, but there's a
mm,
level of common courtesy as well. So I don't really be tripping like that, and I think, uh, in my own, like, fake diagnosis, I think that sometimes scares people scares
Mhm.
people that I deal with because they're
Mhm.
like, oh wait, this person is actually sure of themselves, and they know that, and I think we've discussed this on the show before too, of like anybody that comes into my life, you have to be an addition. You're not necessarily, yes, there's certain things that you can provide that I won't have access to normally on my own, but it's not anything that is dire that I need you for,
Mm.
although we all need human connection. So I think sometimes that security can come off as like, oh, wait, this person is really sure of themselves. And I'm not too sure of myself. I don't know if I'm ready for that because it means they are able to be vulnerable in a space that I may not be prepared to be vulnerable in. And so I don't know. That's just my own assessment of the interactions that I've had in the last several years of like people who just vanish out of nowhere or end things randomly. And it's like,
Abruptly.
yeah, and I'm like, nothing be going on. Like, ain't no beef, no arguments. And you'd be like, I'm tapping out. Or I could be wrong and it'd be like, hey, maybe it just wasn't clicking. Like, so I don't know.
And do you think as avoidance, do you think that I mean, clearly they're running from something, right? And they're not going to elaborate on why they're leaving. So it's like for a person who's secure, they know how to self-soothe. Like you said, you don't really need reassurance. So it's like about knowing how to kind of regulate your own emotions because yes, there's going to be some insecurities maybe when you're engaging with people that will come about, but that's not their responsibility, to kind of like fix. Would you agree?
Yeah. Yeah. I have a very hard time kind of assessing that. There was a experience I had in 2022 that really like impacted me at that time where somebody kind of just ended things out the blue. And I remember somebody I had briefly, a friend of mine, I had briefly mentioned the experience that I had with this person with them. And they were kind of like, that's what's wrong. Well, I don't like to use such language, but she was like, that's what's wrong with niggas nowadays. Like, y'all don't be fighting for y'all bitch no more. And I'm like, wait, like, we was just good for the whole 2 months, like talking every day, going out occasionally, never argue. Like,
Mm,
everything was, fine and dandy. And then now out of nowhere, like you're just ending things. Like, how much more reassurance do you need if I'm
mm,
showing up in the ways that I feel like I was doing a good job at, especially if you don't vocalize anything else. If you're not saying, hey, I'm missing this, or something feels off about X, Y, and Z, like, how am I supposed to know? But that's something I battle with of like, how much is your responsibility as a potential partner or getting to court someone, or even if you are in a relationship, like how much of that is your responsibility versus how much is on that person as well? Because it's like I think I've said it on the show before, like before we meet people, they have their whole lives that they've lived. So it's like there's only so much that you can learn about somebody unless, you're really having deep conversations every single day about everybody's past. So it's like
mhm,
sometimes people allow their past to impact their present and you may not be aware of it. So that's definitely something that I've battled with because I'm not the reassurance type in terms
mm,
of if I'm dealing with you, you have to show up in the ways that I need you to show up. And I don't really ask much of people that I court or date. Um, so it's like if you are not doing those little things, and that kind of just shows me where your level of commitment is. I don't need you to tell me X, Y, and Z. Like your words ain't gonna mean shit to me because
mm.
the little actions that I ask of you is,
It tells
very
more.
easy. Yeah, like that speaks volumes. If I'm telling you we
Mhm,
gotta be at such and such place at some time and you're always late every time we have plans, you don't value my time. So it's like there's no reassurance you could do here other than change behavior. So
right.
I don't know. It's just always been something that I've battled back and forth about since that friend had made that a woman friend said that as well, made that comment. So I don't know. I don't know.
I would
Uh
have to
uh,
agree with her because I feel like, y-
Sick of y'all.
I've
Sick of all of y'all.
for I think it's mutual. We suck at y'all too, but for the most part, I just feel like the roles have reversed a little bit. Like the men want the women to do a lot of the chasing, and they want this is something that a friend of mine said the other day. Is like men will say no to something they really want that yes for because they want the female to be like, well, like I want you to, they want to be pursued more, or like they want the no to change to a yes, or the yes to change to a no. And I'm like, that is so toxic, because like, why play these mind games? Like, why are you, you know doing all of these extra like chess moves or whatever to see like if this person is like, I don't know, I guess like into you or whatever the case is. Have you heard of that
Yes,
kind of
both
dilemma?
sexes do it. Well, I don't know if men do it because I don't really talk to men about what they want because men are idiots. Women definitely do that of the whole, oh no, it's fine, but it's really like, no, I'd rather he know to do these things off the bat. Um, I know this episode is gonna get posted way later, but when we're recording this, it is Aquarius season. If you don't know an Aquarius, please know this: we are very straightforward people. If you think you're gonna play mind games and the whole like yes, no thing scenario that you just mentioned, that shit is not gonna work, and everybody's gonna fucking lose. Like I'm the type of individual. I'm gonna say exactly what it is that I feel, and I'm gonna be vocal about what I want, what I don't want, whatever the case is. And I wouldn't want someone to do that to me on the other scope of like,
Mhm,
hey, I wanted you to show up this way, but you didn't show up this way. But I never told you that I prefer people to show up this way. And so this is a ding on you. Like that's dumb.
mm,
Absolutely idiotic. Um, we are not mind readers. If we were mind readers, then shit would be very fucking spooky out here. Uh,
mhm,
so it's like you got to be vocal. Any conversation that I have with any woman that I'm trying to date or engage with is like, hey, this is how I operate in life in an ideal partnership. These are the things that not necessarily I expect, but these are the things that I would like in an ideal partnership and how we would operate as a unit, how we operate individually or whatever the case may be. Like I laid that foundation very clear because I wouldn't want somebody to assume like, oh yeah, he needs somebody that's like, I don't know, I'm just randomly coming up with he needs somebody
mhm,
that's going to be up every morning making him breakfast. I'm never going to
mm,
tell you that because that's not what I want. If you
mhm,
do it, kudos to you, but that's not what I expect out of my partner. And so I wouldn't want somebody to just assume like there are things you can assume of like common courtesy, certain gender roles sort of things, cool. But then when we get to the nitty gritty of like, here's this thing that really like sparks my interest, or here's something that really I find appealing from the opposite, from whoever is trying to court me, and I would hope that they do this said thing, but then if they don't do it, then they look bad. It's like, bro, like what are we doing? Like you setting
mm,
yourself up for failure. You setting yourself up
mhm,
for failure. Like I get the whole like you don't want to tell your partner or whoever everything like,
mhm,
oh,
mhm.
here's a laundry list, you need to do all these things. Like you don't, obviously you don't want to do that, but
No.
if there's just certain things and certain ways you need to move, like just be vocal about that. So like the
Mm,
scenario I gave about like 2022, if I was to know she was someone who needed reassurance, then maybe I would find a way to provide that so that way she could feel comfortable. But that was never a conversation. It was never something that was highlighted. And so things ended out of nowhere. And that's if
right.
that applies to her. Who knows why she made the choice that she made. So I don't know. I think a lot of times we play mind games and the shit be stupid because we have vocal cords and we can express exactly what we need to express.
Right. And I feel like another thing too with secure attachment, people kind of like they feel like it's boring at first because they're used to chaos. So when they come across somebody who's like really like secure, and they provide like, really clear cut communication, or like, there's no drama, right? It's like, is this is too good to be true, or like they're like they're used to the, other shenanigans happening in the background where they can't really
Mhm.
focus on the individual.
Right. Or just there's just people who just like toxic shit. Like,
Yeah.
yo, every so often across social media, you could randomly see somebody's page and it'll always be like that one woman or girl or whatever. And she'll be like, yeah, I want to be, and this is typically when you're much younger, but it's like, yeah, I want to be at the club or I want to be at the bar or whatever. And my man come yoke me up out of the club and like take me home. And it's like, I guess if you want that sort of aggressiveness
Mm,
in public, like more power to you. But there's just people like you said, they're just used to the chaos, they're used to the toxicity, and that's cool for you. If it works, it floats in your boat, like by all means, live your best life. I don't want none of that shit. I live a very
right.
peaceful and calm life and call it boring, whatever it is, but just know you know where I'm gonna be at. So anybody that aligns with that sort of lifestyle, listen, the DMs are open. The DMs are open because I
And
refuse.
what do you think creates a secure attachment in adulthood? Like obviously like people
Ooh, that's a good question.
when they're, in the early 30s, they're kind of still, maneuvering through a lot of things that they probably healing from their 20s or whatever. So, do you think it's an
I
age
think
thing?
I don't think it's an age thing because we have aunts and uncles and older cousins that be in the bullshit too. I think it's more so individuals who actually do the work and actually develop a level of self-awareness to understand who I am as an individual. What does that mean to me? What does that mean in terms of the kind of life that I want to live? And then in relation to that, it's like, what kind of love do I want to give? And what kind of love do I want to receive? I think
Mm,
once you have those sorts of things, it's easy for you to kind of navigate dating in a certain way. Like dating is still going to be hard because people are people, but I think it's easy to navigate because it's easy for you to kind of assess yourself in the situation and assess the other party and then assess the situation as a whole. So it's like anytime I'm dating somebody, even when I end things, it's not necessarily something impulsive. It's kind of like, okay, here's the things that I've witnessed. Here's I understand who I am in general. I understand who this person is. I understand the ways that we work, the ways that we don't work, and then is this something that I want to move forward with? And so because of that, also operate from like a secure place of like, here's who I am, here's how I'm coming into this dating or relationship or whatever, and here's how I would normally operate regardless of the fact, and here's how I would ideally like to see us operate. And so when you have that awareness, it's easy to be like, yo, I'm not tripping off of nothing. And it's not that I don't care. It's just that I already know, like, okay, I'm not going to bicker and nag you about stuff that I know that's not that really important. Or I'm not going to feel like, I'm not going to be anxious because you didn't text me immediately after I sent you a message or, uh, push you away because I'm feeling some type of way. It's like, no, I know what I was signing up for when I decided to speak to said person. I know how I would ideally be in this relationship dynamic, and hopefully we mesh and we work. And if we don't, maybe the things are small, maybe the things are big that we don't align with. And is from there you kind of just make the choice of like, okay, do I accept this and move forward, or do I move on and we both find something that's more ideal for each other? So I think it's self-awareness. That's my answer. Self-awareness.
Self-awareness is important. And now moving into the let me rant topic. I think that today I want to rant about the illusion of endless options or like the grass is always greener somewhere else, Um, choice overload creates avoidance sometimes. And people, they kind of, I don't like to use the word fumble, but they set people free, from from even entertaining, I guess, the possibility of being with said person when they think that the grass is greener on the other side.
I It's interesting that this is one of the conversations because I was in the comment section for this other podcast. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. Two very beautiful women, and I love the dialogue that they have on there. But they kind of essentially said the same thing in terms of the idea of like now that we live on social media, or social media is such a big thing in our lives, like there's this abundance of people that we have access to, which, not to divert the conversation, it's also something I've been thinking about because I've always seen the comment of like, oh, we were never to see this many. Again, I don't use this verbiage. You men were never meant to see this many bad bitches in their lifetime. Like you wasn't. I don't know what that is supposed to mean from a psychological perspective. But
Mhm,
anyways, getting back on track. Um, yeah, I think people start to give social media a little bit too much power in terms
mm,
of the how they reason why people do the things that they do. At the end of the day, we all have free will. If somebody's going to do something, somebody's going to do something. It doesn't matter if it's someone online. It doesn't matter if it's a coworker. Sometimes it be neighbors. Sometimes it be members of your own family. Like
mm,
the whole idea of, dating apps and social media and like we have too much access to people, like that means absolutely nothing to me because we all, unless you are physically disabled, and sometimes physical disabilities don't even stop certain people. Unless you are physically disabled, you could literally walk outside your house and go wherever it is you want to please and engage with whoever you want to engage with. So I think a lot of times people put they try to find a scapegoat of like it's social media, it's dating apps, it's this, it's that. Yes, they
mhm.
do play a
It's these
factor, but
phones.
right. Yes, these things do play a factor, but at the end of the day, it's a person's choice. If you choose to engage, you just gonna choose to engage.
Right.
So um I don't necessarily like social media dating apps. That don't necessarily bother me if I was to talk to someone on either of those platforms because it's like I'm trying to date you. I'm not trying to date your profile. Like that doesn't mean anything to me. That's just the platform that I may have met you on. It's the same way I may
Mhm,
have met you on a bar versus meeting you at a club versus meeting you at Barnes and Nobles versus like it's all the same. People are people. Like I think we put way too much stock into these things because if it was
mhm,
really about where you're finding these people, then people would be way more selective and way more intentional about said places that they're meeting people. For a long period of time, you were finding people by going to the club. Like obviously
right.
club culture has started to die out, but like that's where you was meeting people. And women were going to the club to dance with their homegirls. Men was going to the club to find somebody to sleep with for the night. Like so you were already losing off the bat. So
Mm,
I don't know. I think yes, these things do play a factor, but I also think like at the end of the day, it's about the individual that you are speaking to and like what they value and what it is that they do. So yes, there is definitely abundance of access to people, but it's only access if one, you want it, and two, if the other person responds. So is it really access at the end of the day? I don't know.
right. That's true. Well, do you have anything to rant about in regards to today's topic or
I don't have a rant about today's topic. My rant is more so a motivational one, especially, and it may be wrong given the times that we're in right now
mm,
currently. But I just want people to choose happiness. Um, I think a lot of people are unhappy in general, and there's plenty, plenty to be unhappy about, whether it's the state of this country, whether it's the state of the job market, socially, financially, um, just so many different things. Capitalism. There's so many things to be unhappy about. But I would hope that people in some capacity find some level of happiness because I see how some of my peers or a lot of my peers are kind of just, you know, they're going through it. And it's unfortunate and it's unfortunately a part of life. Nobody's life is perfect. There's going to be ups and downs. But I do believe you have to have some level of irrational confidence, irrational belief And sometimes that means like being happy even when the shit is horrible. Um, because, that shit really does impact you. Um, Physically, spiritually, mentally, those things play a huge factor. So it's like, even if shit ain't going great, just remember everything is temporary. And so you have to choose happiness in some capacity. Even if you're not happy the whole day, at least like, hey, I'm gonna like go get some ice cream. That used to be a thing in media all the time. When a girl go through a
Mhm.
breakup, she'll go get a tub of ice cream and just eat it
Mhm.
in her apartment and listen to like sad music. Like that's her trying to like choose happiness at some point. And I don't think a lot
Mhm.
of times people choose happiness. They get
Mm,
so fixated on all the
mm,
negativity that's around them. And it's hard because a lot of times those things are very dire, but you still have to like, okay, fuck all that. Let me just like be happy. Watch your favorite TV
right.
show. Have, your favorite cuisine. Take yourself out on a solo date. Like do something. Go to the gym. Like there's so many
Mhm.
outlets that we can like find to stimulate ourselves in a more positive way. But I think a lot of times it's so easy to get caught up in the negativity because you're always on your phones. You have your own personal stuff going on. You may have peers and friends and family that also got shit going on. So it can always feel like it's the end of the world. But it's like, nah, sometimes you just you gotta choose happiness. You gotta choose happiness.
Right. I love that. Definitely. I have another game for this week's episode.
Let's go. Did I win last time? You didn't tell me if I won last time.
Well, it was more of a yes or no game that last time, so it wasn't like a winning
Ah,
kind of thing. It
so
was
I don't get a prize. Got it. Got it.
this one you can get a prize for sure. If you answer these right, you'll get a prize. I'm not sure what the
Is
prize is
this
yet, but
is this rapid fire or is this I could take my
um
time because I
I'm gonna
definitely
give you some
overthought it.
scenarios and you have to tell me what attachment style it is to
Okay.
your best of your
Okay.
ability. I think you'll do
Uh,
great at this.
all right. All right. All right. Let's
So,
go. Let's
scenario
go.
one, someone feels anxious when texts slow down and starts rereading messages.
That's easy. That's anxious attachment style. Like,
Ding,
come
ding,
on.
ding, ding, ding.
Come on.
Someone enjoys dating but pulls back once things start getting serious.
Avoidant.
Ding, ding, ding. Someone communicates their needs clearly and respects boundaries without fear.
You're gonna have to start making these hard, like secure. Like
All right,
they're
all
all
right, all right.
obvious. They're all like painfully obvious.
All right. Someone wants deep connection but sabotages. Hold on, my thing is glitching. Any day now. Okay. Where was I? Where is it? All right, I'm gonna start over.
Uh-huh.
Different one. Someone is calm and consistent at first, but once real emotional intimacy forms, they start creating distance and finding faults.
Fearful attachment style. Fearful avoidant.
Eh,
It's
it's
avoidant.
avoidant.
I kind of figured that. I kind of figured.
Early, they have a sub answer. Early consistency throws people off. The withdrawal only shows up once intimacy deepens.
Mm,
That's why it's
okay.
avoidant. Someone wants reassurance constantly, but pushes you away the moment you actually show up consistently.
Uh, Fearful avoidant.
Yes, that's correct. It looks anxious at first, but the push pull reveals fear of closeness. Someone says they want commitment, but only engages when things feel uncertain or dramatic.
Uncertain or dramatic. I'm going to say anxious.
Fearful. They're
Fearful.
addicted they're addicted to intensity, not stability.
Interesting. That's hella toxic. That's super
Some
toxic.
people love that. Oh man.
Oh, that's nasty work.
Someone values independence, rarely asks for help, and frames emotional needs as drama, but feels deeply hurt when relationships end.
Say that
Hmm.
again?
Someone values independence, rarely asks for help, and frames emotional needs as drama, but feels deeply hurt when relationships end.
Avoid it.
Correct. Emotional depth exits, but vulnerability is suppressed. Exists, sorry, not exits. uh, someone communicates clearly, sets boundaries, but still feels anxious internally. They just don't act on it.
I guess anxious.
This one is kind of both spectrum here. It says secure with anxious tendencies. That's a thing, I guess.
Well, repeat it again.
Someone communicates clearly, sets
Mhm.
boundaries, but
Mhm.
still feels anxious internally. They just don't act on it. Like they just hide the fact that they're anxious
Hmm.
internally.
Interesting.
I feel
I
like that
think
was how I was describing myself earlier, the secure with anxious
it
tendencies.
would be nice to have had an example of like what would have caused them to be anxious to get a
Mm,
better understanding of that. Because I feel like I think I could be anxious as well, but that's
mm,
only based off of someone else's actions.
mm. Right, right. There's something that triggers that to come out,
Right. Because I think the
I would
anxiety
say.
is like natural. Like that's a natural
Mhm.
emotion if someone isn't showing up in the ways that you need to show up. Of like, this typically happens a lot, unfortunately, with women dating men. Of like, he makes plans. How I operate, I'm going to hit you up at least the day before to make sure we're still on track and the day of. But then you'll have a lot of men who don't say anything, they'll just vanish. And then they'll hit you like the time you were supposed to be leaving the house, like, oh yeah, like you still down to do X, Y, and Z. And it's like, you ain't say a word. Like, I don't even know if we were still doing this thing. Like I've heard
Right.
a
I'm
lot of
still in my
women,
pajamas.
yeah, I've heard a lot of women have had that experience because I'm an introvert. So there's plans are good, but there's nothing better than canceled plans. So
Mhm.
I have no problem not confirming day, waiting for the other person to confirm day of, and to be like, "Oh, can't make it." Be like, "Whew, whew, I get to stay in the house. Let's
Mm,
go." Um, so I think, but with that example, it's like if you like the person and you're anticipating that date and you don't hear from them, that's where that triggers that anxiety of like, what's going
mhm.
on? Are they gonna flake on me? Maybe they got other people that they're talking to at the same time. Like, where we at with it? So, but I feel like
Right.
that's a natural thing. Uh, this is why common courtesy is so important because
Mhm.
people deserve that. We grown. You even especially for people who have children, like schedule is very tight. So like
Yeah.
confirm your shit. Like I got shit to do.
Right. And secure doesn't mean anxiety free. It just means regulated behavior. So
Exactly. Yes,
there's
yes,
that.
yes. All there's such a range of emotions that we all experience. I think a lot of times people trying to say, "Oh, I don't do that," or "I don't say this," or "I don't never." It's like, mm. At some point, one way or another, we've had these thoughts or had these experiences. Like, you know,
Yes.
we're humans. Like, we're supposed to have a full range of emotions. If you don't, then you're a sociopath and probably should be put down. But that's neither here nor there.
All right, the last one, the last one. Someone feels bored in healthy relationships but energized in inconsistent ones.
Um, fearful. No, it's not anxious. I'm no, it's not avoidant. I guess it's fearful avoidant. I feel like that's wrong.
No, it's right. It's both. It's anxious or fearful avoidant. Nervous system
Mm,
mistaking chaos for chemistry.
yeah, yeah,
Chaos
yeah.
for chemistry. I feel like I see a lot of that for sure.
Yeah, because the chaos is like you convince yourself like, "Oh, this person cares because they're being chaotic about it." Like, they
Mhm.
wilding out like the example I gave earlier of like, "Oh, he's yanking me out the bar, the club, or whatever." It's like he cares that much to, like, make a scene. It's like, this is mad toxic, like, why are we
Right.
doing this? So you trick yourself to think like this is healthy sort of behavior, or,
Mm,
it's the same thing where you'll have like which is also very toxic behavior of like baby mothers and baby fathers that separate, but then it's like, oh, you shouldn't be fucking no other dudes, or
right.
this is that and the third. Oh, he still cares, like he still want me and all this other nonsensical things. Like,
Right.
all
That's
y'all need to just go
crazy.
to like some island and just live there so y'all can all deal with each other. Cause I mean, thankfully I haven't had those sorts of experiences like
Right,
that,
right.
but yeah, I'm cool. I'd be damned if that was to ever come across
Child.
my doorstep.
So, okay, to wrap things up, healing attachment is a lifelong practice. Healing attachment is a lifelong practice. You don't just, understand what you are and then embody that. Obviously people are going to trigger some things out of you that you may have experienced in the past or something that you've never experienced at all and you're just kind of like, you know, struck about it. I know I have a lot of people that I've talked to that they've voiced how they met someone who was like checked all the boxes and they were kind of fearful for themselves because they're like, damn, like I don't want to fuck this up because all I've ever known was toxic situations. So it's like,
Mhm,
the person has to also be actively wanting this, the dynamic to flourish, right? You attract differently when you regulate differently. So if you're a person who's like always frustrated or like you're miserable and you're like always antsy, you're going to attract probably people who are the same or like that's probably going to turn you on. And safety should feel calm, not addictive.
mm.
How do you feel about those things?
I mean, I agree. I think to add on the first point you made is like, I think communication is such a big thing because even if you may have some of these traits, I think it's important to identify them. And well, I'm normally the type of person who likes to preach like, discover yourself, figure out who you are before you go out into the dating world, um, per se. But if you do choose to date and be intentional about wanting to see someone and wanting a committed long-term relationship, then you do have to like vocalize these things of like, hey, this is the kind of work that I've done. This is what I've discovered about myself. And so in turn, like these are some of the sort of behavioral traits that I may have. And so then this other person can either help you navigate them to a certain extent or decide like, oh no, I can't do this. Like this isn't for me. I think a lot of times people don't have that sort of awareness, and so they don't communicate those things, and so the other person is then caught off guard of like, "Yo, why are you acting like this? Like, why are you doing all this extra shit?" Uh, and so I think that's where it starts, and yeah, I think people definitely have to do the work and like really understand themselves. And it may not even necessarily be from doing it on your own. It may be from a certain experience. Like I said,
Mhm.
it wasn't until 3 years ago that I really realized, like, "Oh, okay, like, I'm secure attachment style. The person I'm dealing with is anxious, and they are pissing me the fuck off, and this is not gonna work because we don't have the same, personality type in that regard." So, yeah, I mean, per usual, educate yourself, go see the lady if you got the funds to do so, and, like, stop fucking driving people nuts. And if that's your thing, then find other people that, wanna
Are
be
equally
driven
nuts.
Yeah, yeah, the whole, like, I like crazy chicks because they allegedly have good coochie, like,
Poon
I ain't got
poon.
time for yeah, I ain't got time for all that. I like peace and tranquility. That's all I need, and I'm not disturbing that, I'm not giving that up for anybody because they're attractive or
Mm,
they, maybe they are good in the bedroom, like, that don't mean shit to me, like, I like peace and tranquility, and I have my little sanctuary, and so you either going to be a healthy part of my ecosystem, or you're just gonna be outside looking in, and
right.
it is what it is. And hey, hey, not meant for. I'm not for everybody. Everybody's not meant for me. So there's that.
Yeah, and some things aren't for a long time, they're for a good time, right? So it's like, yeah, you
Boy,
may encounter certain people.
where are you going with this?
No, I'm
I mean
saying like
that too, but then also understand like if you're going to go down that route, then
mhm,
only have them in a certain vacuum. The
right,
same way you deal with certain friends. You may have certain friends that are a bit more needy than others, or some friends who like to trauma dump more than others. So it's like, oh, okay, I can only be friends with you in this capacity. You can't have the full range access to me, so it's the same thing. If you know, like, oh, this is something short term, then it's kind of like, look, we only going to do X, Y, and Z. This is the lane that we're going to be in versus someone that I want to take more seriously. It's like you get the full repertoire if it's
right,
owed and earned. So you're
right,
not wrong.
right.
You're not wrong.
You trying to come at me real quick. I
I
thought it
was
was
just that I was not expecting that. I was not expecting that. I was like, where are you going with this?
okay. Well, and it's also important. I'm glad that we're having these conversations because not a lot of people are doing the work. Not a lot of people are going to therapy. You have a therapist. I've had one in the past. And it's about, educating our people who, don't know these things. Like, leave us a comment if you never knew that there was four attachment styles or which attachment style you think fits best for you or if you've dealt with any of these other attachment styles that piss you off.
And the
And,
last point I'll make is, and I hate to use a corporate word, but piggybacking off of what you just said, learning that is so beneficial for you because then when you start to date, you're able to filter people out in a different way. And then it's like, okay, I know I can mesh well with this person because from a general understanding of who you are, this is how I know you may operate. Versus if you don't have that knowledge, like I said, they'll operate or react in a certain way to something. And it's kind of like, yo, you doing a lot. But to them, it's not a lot because that's how they normally maneuver through life versus how you may maneuver through life. Like the example I said, like I have secure, this person was anxious. I don't like their anxiety being pushed onto me. So it's like I knew this was not going to work. We just didn't
Mhm.
mesh. It was oil and water. So that helped. That experience helps me now because now when I do date, if I see certain traits from certain people, it's like, oh, okay, you got anxious attachment style. And then I'll still have a conversation with them. If they
Yeah.
deny it, then it's kind of like, all right, let's all calm down. Um, but if I do start to see like, oh, okay, like this is who you really are, then it's like, yeah, we're not compatible. I wish you the best of luck on your journey because this ain't gonna work out. But without that information, you kind of just date whoever and kind of just like get stuck in situations. And it's like, damn, bro, like this motherfucker get on my nerves. And it's like, y'all not even compatible. It's like, why are you still
Mm,
here? But you never
right.
actually, you know, did the research and have an understanding of who you are and how that may mesh with them. Um, because we become so fixated on the physical, how much money this person makes, what materials this person has or gives me, what kind
Mm,
of job or title that they have, what access they give us to certain, if this is a socialite and they have industry ties, like people get so caught up in all the other bullshit, the things that
mhm.
actually matter from a day to day standpoint, you kind of ignore. And it's like, yeah, you have all these other things, but you hate this person. You hate them because y'all just keep clashing and y'all just beefing all the time. And it's because y'all just have two different attachment styles, two different personalities that don't mesh well, and
Right.
y'all never are going to mesh well. And now you're fucking miserable. But They ain't gotta listen to me. I'm not certified in anything, so do whatever the fuck you want.
Oh man, yes, for sure. Do what you want. We're just here to provide some gems, and if you want to take them, then it's entirely up to you.
Exactly.
Thank you again for chatting with me tonight, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.